Fear of success. This term and this idea is very important and very right. I think it's even highly underestimated. A lot of people have this fear of success, but at the same time, fear of success is not very well defined. It's very broad, and if you do research on the internet, on Google, on YouTube, it's not very much defined of what is actually behind that. And I would like to contribute to that, because if you don't really see the exact mechanisms of what's going on and you just talk about the fear of success, you're most likely not actually going to likely to let go of it, because you need to understand what is actually going on. And I want to contribute with this video. I want to share 4 different types of fear of success, and if you can actually relate to one of those, then it's more likely that you can actually let go of that, because you know more clearly what you need to work on. So let's start with the first one. The first one, the first type of fear of success is actually a fear of failure. You're becoming more and more successful, or you're afraid of becoming more successful, and you're afraid that you cannot handle that you will struggle, and though the higher you raise, the deeper you fall, and you're afraid of that. So basically you're afraid of future failure. Example, I had a client, he made more and more money, and he started to become afraid of the taxes and of the government, that because the more money you make, the more likely it is that the government checks, and then there are higher consequences, because if you make more money and you make mistakes, you basically don't pay money to the government, and the more money you make, the more you didn't pay if something goes wrong, and there are massive consequences for that. At least in Germany, they're very strict with that. And this client was afraid of that, and he had this subconscious fear of success, of making even more money, because the higher he raises, the more money he makes, the more he was afraid that something goes wrong, he gets a big fine, maybe imprisonment. But he had a tax accountant. Rationally, it didn't really make so much sense, but subconsciously there was this fear, and this was holding him back to even fearlessly going out and giving it all and making even more money. So there was this fear of failure. What if I cannot handle it? What if I make so much and go so high, and then I fall so deep because the stakes are so high? And suddenly we talk about a different topic. We talk about the fear of failure, maybe even an imposter syndrome, something like that. And it's ultimately not the fear of success, but it's the fear of failure. Another type is that somehow in your mind you have your greatness connected to a weakness. So showing greatness is a weakness. It feels weird thinking about your positive characteristics, and you're afraid to come across arrogant. If people give you compliments, you cannot really receive and take them. You say like, oh, thank you, but, and then you put yourself down. Oh, this was not a big deal. I spent a lot of time on that. Everybody could do this, whatever. And you're a bit uncomfortable with actually simply accepting your positive characteristics and your greatness. And actually, nobody wants to be narcissist, except from narcissists. But you're overly afraid to be a narcissist. You're overly afraid to be arrogant. You cannot accept your greatness, because you come across needy then. That's what you think in your mind. If I'm accepting my greatness, I'm come across needy, like I'm seeking approval. And nobody loves somebody who seeks approval. That's not love worthy. So you have this dilemma of, my greatness is bad, and that's why you focus on what you're not so good at, because that makes you feel better. And that's again a very specific problem. And that's not genetics. You don't just come into this world, you're afraid of being too great, afraid of being arrogant. That's actually something that you learned probably in your childhood. You learned, oh, I should not be awesome. Shouldn't do this. Nobody likes that. And that's also connected to the third type of fear of success, which is that you're worrying, that you're bothering others. You don't want others to look bad. And if you make yourself small, though, you're not really serving the world, but you make yourself small. And though there's nothing mature about you not showing your greatness and your strength, just to make sure that others don't feel insecure. But that's what you do. You feel like that's not okay. And though if you really show your greatness, You give subconsciously others the permission to also be great. But at this point you cannot, because you're too much entangled into those thoughts of, oh, I don't want to bother others. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if I'm telling my girlfriend how much money I make? What if I'm showing other people how great I am? They would feel bad about it. And people don't do that. And that's a big thing. That's not a big thing in the US, actually. That's a big thing maybe in Australia and Canada, North Europe, a lot of different other parts. Culture-wise, that you don't want to stand out too much because other people would be bothered by that. And again, that could be connected then to the first point, fear of failure, because then if people don't like you, they drag you down. That could be also connected to that. Yeah. And the last one I think is a highly underestimated one. It's outgrowing your father. Because, and with outgrowing, I mean earning more, being more successful. And if your father has also been fairly successful, but especially he's been quite dominant and quite an authority, and you quite have some respect towards him, especially when you were a child, now outgrowing your father feels a little bit impolite. Something you simply don't do. Outshining your dad. You're subconsciously even afraid of it. What would happen if I'm actually becoming bigger than my father? And he's seeing that. And you always kind of stay in the shadow of him. And most people I talk to, they don't resonate with that. But then when I talk with them for over a couple of hours, once in a while, that becomes a topic at some point. And I'm curious whether this is also something you can resonate with. Okay, there are 4 types now. The fear of failure, your idea of that your greatness is actually a weakness because you're arrogant, you not wanting to bother others and make others feel bad, and you not wanting to outgrow your father because that's impolite. Those are 4 different types of fears of success, and that's more specific than just talking about having the fear of success. And I personally, I'm a psychologist. I work also with a lot of entrepreneurs together, but also people who are not running a business but having this fear of success, and they're holding themselves back. And I cannot work with people when we simply talk about fear of success. If people type that in the survey before they talk to me, I'm like, yeah, interesting, let's talk about this. But I cannot work with that. That's not a task I can work on. I need to first of all figure out what is actually going on. And then we can talk about this. What's your relationship with your father? How can you let go of that? How can you let go of this idea that it's unpolite to actually be more successful? Now, then we can go deeper. Maybe even invite the father if it's necessary, right? But the more specific, the better. Tangible action steps are, first of all, becoming more aware of what is going on. That's why this video here was already helpful. What is the exact fear of success that you're having? And then simply even throughout the day, becoming aware of those thoughts. Oh, I'm thinking this now again. Interesting. What am I exactly thinking? What are the exact thoughts? Let's be a bit more specific even here. Questioning that beliefs, running some tests, right? Is that actually the case? Let me give this a try. Let me talk with this friend. Let me talk to this person. Is this actually truthful? Or am I just building up some airy-fairy idea which is not actually true? And something that also personally helped me a lot is, in Buddhism, they call this mudita. It's simply being happy for others, for their life circumstances, for their characteristics, for their successes. Really try to nurture that, of not being jealous, but actually being inspired, wishing well to others. I mean, if your football team wins, you're happy. Yeah, that's easy because it's your football team that you like and you cheer on. But let's imagine you can actually broaden that. It's not just your football team and your family. You're actually happy for strangers being successful. You're happy for others, and you can nurture and learn that by simply focusing on that. Wishing well, like, hey, this is actually great. What can I learn from that? And get inspired by that. If you're capable to do that, if you're capable to not feel jealous, but actually feel this mudita, this happiness for others' success, it will be much easier for you also stepping into your own greatness. Because before that, you've been jealous and you notice, okay, if I'm jealous, others will be jealous. Oh, what's going on? There's a lot of like judgment going on. But if you're really full of love for everybody, you can also tap into your own greatness without feeling arrogant, without feeling like something is wrong here. Because that's what you ultimately want. It's a big point, this fear of success. You're not going to self-actualize. You know, self-actualization means to be your authentic self and really live that up. And right now you're this tree of potentially knowing what type of tree you are and what you want to grow into, but then you just don't do it. There's like this glass ceiling of like, yes, I'm doing fine, but not too much. And that's so sad because you know you could do more. You know it, but there's something holding you back. If you want to talk about that, let's talk. There's a link below the video. You can just book a first free call with me. And in this call, we also, again, can together more define what is actually going on, what type of fear of success is there, and where is this root origin. And then we can even talk about the possibility of moving forward together, but that's not necessary. This first call will be already of great value, so make use of that. Don't procrastinate on that. You have so much to give. Let's take a closer look. So make use of that, book that call. And also share this video with anybody else. I'm sure you have some people, some friends, some colleagues, some business partners where you notice, why are they not doing as good as they could? I see their potential, that they're somehow not showing it. Share this with them. Maybe it resonates, maybe it changes their lives. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Have a good day.